City won the treble, but it looks like things are changing quite drastically at Manchester City. Carlos Borges is on the brink of a transfer to West Ham for around £14 million. And today, I'm going to talk through that that breaking news and maybe inform one or two of you about Carlos Borges if you don't know who he is and why I'm making the video, and the context of this transfer and all that kind of stuff, because it's an interesting one, this. It really, really is. It's all changed at Manchester City right now, and I do think this may not be the most exciting story when you've got Vardy about to sign and the futures of so many senior players still up in the air, but this is a young winger going for a big fee, and it's part of the bigger picture, so we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. Please do hit the subscribe button on this channel. It would be massively appreciated. And of course, give this video a like. And if you are a West Ham fan, welcome to my channel, and I'll try and be as unbiased and as informative as I can about this a very exciting player that West Ham fans are getting. So I thought this one, I'd do it a little bit different structurally. Of course, I'll go through the news as it's broken, by the way. It actually came first from my friend, a good friend, Mike Minet. Mike, BBC Manchester journalist, commentator. Of course, he works with City quite a lot too, but he actually tweeted this before Fabrizio, saying, understand West Ham are now front runners in this, by the way, of a permanent deal, most likely. Then Fabrizio wasn't far behind, saying similar, how it's very close to being done. West Ham are closing on the deal to sign Borges. Verbal agreement placed 2004 winger, fee around 14 million. As always, City will include buyback clause in the deal. Details being finalised. Then here we go. So it's basically gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And I thought I would just sort of have these talking points here to go through and discuss this in a little bit more detail. Of course, I am live, so do get your comments in. I'll try and get to them after I've gone through those points. It is appreciated. And once again, do hit the like button on this video. It helps support the channel massively and would appreciate it. So, the first point I put there is, who is Carlos Borges? Because I understand if you don't pay attention to the academy stuff, you might be thinking, why is Stephen making a video on an academy player I've never really heard of? I think it's important right now, given the context of Manchester City and where they're at, to discuss this potential transfer. Well, for one, he's a 19-year-old left winger from Sintra in Portugal. Sintra, a beautiful place, by the way. If you've never been to it, gorgeous. Me and Nicola went there. It's right near Lisbon. A gorgeous place. They've got a gorgeous kind of palace thing there. What a place. Absolutely beautiful. But either way, I think he grew up mainly in England. He's got like an English accent and so on. But either way, he does play for Portugal. He's been excellent for them. You probably can't quite see it because it's a little bit too small, unfortunately. But his stats, I'll try and find it, bring it up on screen if I can. But his stats are absolutely remarkable at youth level. I know it's just youth level, so it's hard to gauge and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, he's literally a goal-a-game level player at youth level. And I'll show you his stats from last season if I can get it on screen. 1 second. Here we go. There you go. So 22 goals at Premier League 2 level. You got... let me have a look. Last season one. So there we go. So last season he scored 21 goals in 24 Premier League 2 games, 29 in 33 overall, including UEFA Youth League and the EFL Trophy. He scored 4 goals in 3 games, by the way, in the Checker J Trophy, which is like professional level, which is really impressive. And he also got 18 assists. So he got, quick maths, 47 goal involvements in 33 games last season for the youth teams. That is quite remarkable. That's an astonishing rate of effectiveness. It really is. You can't deny that. That's a really special level of return. And he's very good. He's a goal-a-game player, basically pretty much every level. Like, there's a thing going around about Carlos Borges. I saw a clip currently on City's channel where they've got the top goal scorer from the first team, Haaland, Bunny Shaw, the women's team, and then Carlos Borges from the EDS, and then Justin Abubuado, I pronounced that probably correctly, from the ATs, all watching each other's goals. And Justin made a joke about his celebration, saying, well, he's always going to score, so he's got loads planned, and he's always doing like crazy celebrations, but he's got that many goals, and he's so guaranteed to get him. I don't blame him. He seems a lovely lad, by the way, in that. So basically, City are letting go of a winger here who scores an absolute ton of goals. And if you're wondering how he plays, absolutely electric pace, flies forward, immense pace, a really good finisher with either foot forward as well. I think he might be naturally left-footed. I'm very tired. I didn't sleep last night at all. But either way, he's a natural finisher. very good at standing up a defender 1v1 and beating them and getting past players for fun. And he's been on the cusp of kind of breaking through to that first team for a while now. But it hasn't yet happened. It hasn't yet happened for whatever reason. It makes you wonder why, doesn't it? It makes you wonder why. Now, the fee itself, which we'll get to in a bit, the fee itself is around £14 million. That's obviously a good fee for anyone without any scene experience. I know he's sort of like a goal-a-game player at EDS level, but you really are starting to see big fees come through for players with next to no experience whatsoever. It's really impressive that the City Academy is essentially funding the first-team transfers. When you look at James Trafford going for 19 million, Shea Charles around similar to Borges, you're getting pushing 50 million there, around-ish. 50 million for free academy players who've basically not really been involved in the first team at all, total. And that is really, really impressive. I mean, I know technically how Trafford has, and so, it's not Trafford, Shea Charles. But you know what I'm getting at, basically. It's a really good money maker right now. And it is frustrating as young players move on, but we can't deny the impact that this has on City's business. And I also see it as a positive. I really do. I see it as a positive for the young players. Like, they've just got Premier League moves, man. It's a really impressive thing for their career, and they've established themselves as they've got out a Premier League club from being City's academy for good money. And of course, there'll be a buyback as well. I don't know what the buyback would be. I suspect West Ham wouldn't have it anything less than 40 million. I'm just guessing here. But at that point, imagine it was 40 million and they signed him for 14, maybe 45 or something like that. You'd be paying about 30 million quid then for a player who'd made it at the Premier League level. So, what you'd get at that point is basically a ready-made star with City kind of training for a good fee. It'd be like an advanced loan for a couple of years. So this gets to the next bit. Why? I'm going to look at the why bit. Why have City let him go? This is always my best guess. My guess is that City feel the level of is just a bit too high for him, and he's not going to get in ahead of Foden, Grealish, Bernardo, and Morris when he's currently here at the moment. I think it's probably fair. People are saying, guys just said in the comments that people are acting like he was just some headless chicken. He isn't. Like, he's not like... he's not a controlled winger in the way that Grealish is, or the way that Foden would be, or Mahrez. No, he's not. But he's not like some technical... inept winger. He obviously is Manchester City trained. He does have technical ability. He can play in a passing system, but he is definitely a bit more direct. There's nothing wrong with admitting that, but he's not currently the kind of winger that Guardiola plays. He just probably isn't. And I wonder if there's something like that. It might just be as well that he doesn't fancy staying around right now. It might just be that with a year left on his contract, he has 1 year left, he might think, I'm ready for first team football now regularly, and I fancy going somewhere else. And he said, I'm going to move on. It could be that. It could also be that Guardiola just doesn't really fancy him, that's understandable. He did play a little bit in a game against Girona in a friendly last year, and he didn't look great, but it was only a friendly, so I'm not going to judge him based on that at all. And he could be like Pep right now, just wants controlling wingers and thinks he won't get much game time, can't promise anything, and with 1 year left on his contract, Pep will go, you can move on if you want to, son, go for it. And it could be a deal that works for everyone involved. Like, I think this is very much pat on the back. You've done great, 40 million. And if you do really well, we'll come calling in a year or two. I really rate Carlos Borges. I would have loved to have seen him get a chance. I think we have to be privy of the step up in quality. I am not saying this is Carlos Borges, so this is the big disclaimer. I am not saying this will happen to Carlos Borges, but we have to be aware of the step up in quality from the youth team to the first team. I have seen so many flying electric wingers who score nearly a goal a game at youth level, but then they go on to professional football, and for whatever reason, it's just not as easy for them. I've seen big name players at academy level come and go, where I've seen them loads of players that have scored nearly a goal a game. Has anyone ever heard of Isaac Buckley? You probably haven't. He was nearly a goal-a-game player. Electric winger. Step over, beat his man, scored a goal. Brandon Barker, you probably heard of him. He scored loads of goals. It didn't quite happen for him, Another big one was Rabbi Matondo. He followed just in the footsteps of Jadon Sancho. He was absolutely astonishing at times for the under-18s and EDS. And then he went to Schalke and did basically nothing. This is a lot of very skillful wingers Yiddish level sometimes struggle to make the step up. I'm not saying that'll be Carlos Borges, but what I'm saying is, what if he did train with the first team, and then he was trying to get past the likes of Kyle Walker and John Stones and just probably couldn't in the way that he could get past the 17, 18-year-old. I do wonder if something like that happened and he just maybe didn't stand out in training. I could be wrong and he could have been excellent in training, but all I would guess is that that'd be my best guess, is that maybe the step up could be an awful lot for him to Manchester City's level. And we have to remember just how big the level is. It's ridiculous. It's the elite level. It's the best of the best level. It is the treble winning level. It's record breaking level. That is Manchester City's level right now. And there is no shame. Like, you can be a very good player, like an excellent player, and not be good enough for Manchester City Football Club. Genuinely. You can be a very good player and be not very good enough for the Premier League. Very good players often play in the Championship and can't. It's such a high level. Like, I think we probably don't realise just how special you have to be Manchester City's level. So it could be that. It could also be, once again, that he just fancies moving on. It could have been that he maybe got his chance next season. He was about to, and Pep said you can go if you want to go, and he can't guarantee you anything, and he's decided to move on. We just don't know. There's a million reasons. My best guess, as I said, is that maybe they decided it's going to be hard for him with Grealish out there, and we're not really playing his style at the moment. We're playing this controlled winger thing, and as much as I would have loved to send him off the bench every now and then, and I really would have, I would have liked to have seen him get a chance. I have to respect the decision. So why? That's my best guess. He might have wanted to go. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He could have heard of this offer and thought, I really fancy this deal. It's a Premier League club. It's West Ham. There's good connections between the club. It could have been that Guardiola has decided he's not going to probably get a chance. McAtee and Bob and Palmer ahead of him on that front as players who can play out wide. It could be not be the right style. There could be many reasons. But what it is difficult to understand for us as fans. And is it the right call? Look, if you told me a few years ago about this, I would have been really disappointed. Like, a lot of you will probably have followed me for an awful long time and understand that. A few years back in particular, I banged the drum a lot more about getting new players involved. I was probably very naive at the time. I think I underestimated just how big the leap was. And as time has gone by, I've kind of sort of grown to realise that it's very hard to do what Pep Guardiola is expected to do, win a treble and bring young players through at the same time. And I actually think City have got better actually at the same time bringing young players through. It used to be we'd have no one in the team, but then Foden made it. And then we saw Rico Lewis start to come through. We've seen Cole Palmer get game time, and we saw people like CJ and Riley get quite a bit of game time. Tommy Doyle got some. I'm not saying they played loads, but they were being used. Wilson Esbrand got some game time. Like, young players all around the squad. Lavia got some as well. Like, young players do get the odd opportunity here and there. Not always loads, but it's probably relatively fair given just how good Manchester City are. So for me, I don't know if it's the right call, but I understand the call. I understand it because ultimately the results speak for themselves. Like, I can't question Guardiola's methods. Like, it's so cutthroat at the top level. Like, that with City, I understand that they to keep up the levels, that sometimes they'll just go out and buy a settled superstar instead, because City simply do not have to take those risks. They don't have to spend loads of money developing young players, developing young players, when they can go out and buy someone who's proven. I get it. It's not always exciting, but I get it because that is the level City. Look, ultimately, it can be more of a risk sometimes to not spend 50 million because City's revenue and expectations and demands are based around being a Champions League level club. So sometimes signing a £50 million player who's playing in the Champions League and is one of the best in a major league is a safer bet, because it guarantees you those top four positions still and guarantees you that revenue. It's one thing I've come to learn. It's like, I can sit there and be romantic about it and say all young players should get a chance if they do well. But we know so little of what's going on with Manchester City Football Club. And they do get chances. They get chances on the training pitch. And ultimately, the way I feel, if they are good enough in training, they will get a chance. Like, that's it. Like, 95% of football is training. It really is. And I don't believe for 1 second if Carlos Borges was ripping Kyle Walker to shreds, beating John Stones, making Rico Lewis look stupid and putting him in the top corner every day in training, I don't believe that Guardiola would be like, don't care, mate. Does anyone really believe that? No, I just don't believe it. It doesn't. It's too. It's too illogical for a man so dedicated to winning and success and hunger. We know what he did with Rico Lewis. We know what he did with Cole Palmer. Rico Lewis came into the team because he was hungry and because Guardiola felt that Kyle Walker, Joao Cancelo and all these people needed a bit of kick up the arse. Rico Lewis got that chance because he was good enough. I don't think for 1 second that Carlos Borges, if he was really, really special in training, would be ignored. I just can't say I believe that. It's illogical. Pep is a genius and the best manager in world football. If a special talent was staring him down the face in training, like Phil Foden, like Rico Lewis, like Messi years ago, he would use them. Like Kimmich at Bayern, like he would make wonderful he'd make the right call and give them a chance, but he's not done it, which leads me to the conclusion that maybe he's not seen what he wants, and right now they're not so sure, and maybe Carlos needs to go and prove himself and grow a little bit elsewhere. So is it the right call? For me, personally, and this is just my take, I think £14 million for a guy who's got no senior football experience other than the Checker J Trophy, who might not ever make it at the top level, but he could do, but will go to a Premier League club who were willing to use him. At a team, by the way, under David Moyes, who are a good club, who do use wingers. West Ham have got a good tradition of wide players. I think it makes an awful lot of sense for everyone involved. West Ham get a good player who's a goal-a-game player who will score lots. At the same time, City get to watch up close his development in the Premier League with a potential buyback, and everyone is happy involved. The player's been respected, and once again, the CFA has been a success. Do not judge the measure of success of the CFA entirely by first-team progression. Judge it on them giving careers. Manchester City are a university. Manchester City's training ground is a university of football. Some of the elite ones will get through to the first team, but most go on to get very good jobs elsewhere. And Carlos Borges is another who will get a Premier League chance now at one of the biggest clubs in the country, at West Ham United. And that, to me, is exciting, and I'm happy about it. Guys, that's my thoughts on this. I hope you enjoyed this video. I feel like I was really informative there. I think that was a good video for myself. I don't really do that very often, but I think West Ham fans, if you watch this, you might hopefully feel informed. Carlos, if you're watching this, mate, fucking smash it, mate. Make Pep, make me, make us all look stupid. Score a ton of goals, and we'll see you back at the Etihad in a few years' time. Guys, City won the treble. Give this video a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you later for another video. In a bit, bye-bye.